Dawn Montefusco, and this is Write from Your Heart, how to unleash your creativity, share your message, and leave a lasting legacy. And today we have one of my favorite people and dear friend, Annette Poliwka. She's an environmentalist and adventurer who inspires and empowers women to get outdoors, to challenge themselves, and to connect with their deeper selves. She is passionate about helping people take that first step in their outdoorsy goals, to own their personal power and build momentum around their dreams. Whether you want to start hiking, plan a bigger backpacking trip, or explore your soul's desires, she specializes in this. After spending more than 15 years working to protect the environment for local, federal, and international governments on zero waste, she started her own company to empower women in the outdoors. Her goal is to rekindle that inner flame we all have, to nourish that inner child, and to embark on outdoor adventures we've dreamed about. Wow. Hi, Annette.
Hi, Dawn. How are you?
I'm great. That sounded really fun to read. I love it.
Yeah, it was fun to hear too.
So I see we're both prepared. So I knew that Annette, she'd mentioned maybe she was going to wear animal print. And this is the only animal print I have. So I encourage her to take off her shawl. And we're both doing the animal print thing because it's raining and we thought about doing this outside, but we're not. So tell us about any new projects you're doing.
So Dawn, I, as you mentioned, I work with women and I get them outdoors. I lead hikes where part of it is community building and a part of it is in silence. So for me, a theme that comes up all the time is the yin and the yang. And with being in nature, I love the physical aspects of it and, you know, planning a hike and getting outdoors and all of that. But once we're actually outdoors and in that beautiful environment, sometimes we even forget to stop and take deep breaths and just look at the environment around us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, what's funny is, as you know, I'm a talker and I love being in silence though. It calms the nervous system. So when I'm out hiking with friends, I will often be like, can we have a moment? Can we have like can we time ourselves and have a certain amount in silence?
Yeah.
And the silence of nature is just amazing.
Yeah. And with so much technology and being so busy, like going into silence and having that time for yourself just feels so luxurious and uncomfortable as well for some people. If you're not creating that space for yourself, no one else is really creating that for you. And so what I found is that, and I work with a lot of women, that it's a very safe space. So we're engaging and we're building community and we're talking and we're connecting, but at the same time, or right after, or right before, is a safe space where you know where you're walking, you know that you're surrounded by your community, by your people, and it really allows you to go a little bit deeper with yourself.
Oh, I love it. How did you become an adventurer that gets outside?
So I am a Ukrainian Girl Scout. And since I was a little kid, and so when I have two older sisters, and so they would be at camp and my mom would help cook in the kitchen, and I and my best friend, who I'm still best friends with to this day, were allowed to just do our thing. And so we ran around, we ran in the forest, we played in the pond. I found so many frogs and it was like waist deep in you know, fast forward 20 years and I'm, you know, a wetland ecologist. So like it all really makes sense. But I recently found out within the last couple of years that the American Boy Scouts and the American Girl Scouts are not on the same curriculum. And that just shocks me.
Whoa. Tell us more about that. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so the boys are learning, you know, what you think of scouts. So they're learning how to build fires, they're tying knots, they're going fishing, all of that, and they're getting their badges. Whereas Girl Scouts, I mean, what are Girl Scouts known for? They're known for their cookies.
Yeah, I
yes. And so
I didn't even think of that. Oh my gosh.
And I learned recently that the Girl Scouts are really trying to encourage or teach entrepreneurism to these girls, which is phenomenal, but I still don't think of that as scouting. And also simultaneously, the Boy Scouts are now allowing some girls into their programs for the girls who, you know, want to learn those skills. But the fact that they haven't been going hand in hand the whole time.
Wow.
And so what I think about, you know, Girl Scouts for grown women, you know, like what kind of, how has this impacted us on a larger level, that boys are being taught, you know, these really technical skills and girls are being taught these really soft skills. So let's empower and teach women, you know, how to, you know, take care of themselves a little bit more in the wilderness. And that really gives us more confidence just on a daily basis with whatever we're doing, whether it's a presentation or walking down the street.
God, I just learned so much. I didn't even know that. I grew up in the Bronx, and I was a Girl Scout, and I was a Brownie. Was a Brownie a Girl Scout?
I think it's like a little Girl Scouts. I think that it's before you become an actual.
Yeah, I was a Brownie.
You know better than me.
No, it's funny, but I never learned anything like about the outdoors. And I remember kind of reflecting on that at some point, being like, well, first of all, that happened in New York City, like city. And I had the outfit, but I don't remember doing anything other than selling cookies. So I need to revisit that because I don't have any memory of that. But holy crap. So awesome that you're doing what you're doing and you're educating women around that. That's phenomenal. So, okay, so then you did that. So then when did you like first, I mean, it must have been so amazing to realize that women want to go outside. You live in Berkeley, yeah?
I live in Berkeley, but I've also lived in New York City, Chicago. I've always been an urbanite. And I've always done the outdoorsy thing in, you know, simultaneously with, you know, holding a real job and whatnot. So there's really no excuse for not getting outdoors, regardless of where you live. And there are communities everywhere, and there are, you know, it's like, how do you find, and this is something that I struggled with a few years ago when I moved back to California and I wanted to go backpacking, but my friends that I would have done that with before are married with little kids. And so we can plan, like, and I've done this, I've planned a weekend trip where we're in a house or some people are in tents, but it's not the same. So how do you find community? This is the question that I'm addressing, is how do you find community that you can grow with and ask those questions and learn how to be outdoors, and like, just how do you find a community of fun, bad, outdoorsy ladies?
Yeah, totally.
That's it.
You write too. You write almost every day. You're an avid journal writer, which we talk about on the show. So for people who've been here, we've mentioned how it reduces anxiety, it helps with trauma, PTSD. It obviously helps your writing. So journal writing, you know, is very, I mean, it's an important piece of many of the puzzle. And you write in general. How have you seen nature improve or complement your writing?
So I do write every morning, and I have a practice where I try to clear my desk before I go to sleep. And so it's important to have the little trigger points, the reminders. So I try to clear my desk, and I open my notebook and I leave a pen there, so that when I wake up, it's the first thing that I can do is sit down and just write down my dreams, write down what comes up. And I have found that with that process, that my writing has evolved and has gotten a lot deeper. Whereas when I first started, because I always had a journal I usually had a journal when I was a kid, and it was an outlet. It was an outlet for, you know, when you don't know who you can share information with, or you don't want to tell anyone, or you're feeling bad. You know, and the journal, you know, you're writing however it comes out, whether it's a daily journal or poetry or short stories, you know, that's a really safe mechanism for expressing yourself and putting those emotions on paper. So I do love that. And writing when I'm in nature, we all have monkey mind. Okay. So if we're going to have monkey mind, it's really nice to have monkey mind because there's like an ant crawling on your shoe.
Oh, cool.
Or because the bark looks really cool. So it's really nice to like to sit myself down outdoors and, you know, I'll do my own writing. And then the trick is to continue, you know, I mean, like on one hand, it's like, oh, I want to keep focusing on the thought. And then on the other hand, it's like, just give into that stream of consciousness. Like that leaf looks beautiful. You know, I like the ground is moist. How am I, you know, am I cold? Am I warm? How is that natural environment really influencing me?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's more to, I mean, when we're stuck inside all the time, our brains can only focus on certain things, you know what I mean? And then we get really narrow, like the left brain kind of takes over. I feel like when I'm out in nature, I love breaking out the journal and just start describing nature, just what's in front of me, because I feel like, don't you feel like you get more intimate with it and the details are different? You can it almost like lingers then longer when you go inside because you stamped it. You know?
Oh, for sure. And another thing that I do in my journal, and, you know, I would not call myself an artist, but that's part of the problem is that we put these labels on ourselves. But sometimes I will do a sketch and I have zero formal education in drawing or painting. My best friend is the artist, you know, but sometimes it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how good it is. That's the beauty of it, you know, whether it's reading or you're drawing, you know, it's just that little sketch. It's like, who cares? Just put it out there. Just take it.
Well, we're all artists. I mean, there's a great quote in Callings by Greg Lavoie, who was on the show earlier this week or last week. He there's a professor and he's getting ready to go to work to go teach, and his little girl is like 6 years old, and she says, "Daddy, where are you going?" And he says, I'm going to work. Like every morning he goes to work. She says, what do you do at work? He goes, "Well, I teach people how to draw." And she says, "You mean they forget?" And so it's like, oh, what do you mean you can't draw? You can't write? Like, I'm sorry. When we were 6 or 7 years old, we got a crayon or a pencil and we wrote, you know, and we drew, and we didn't worry about the word artist, you know, because we're born that way. We're born to write, actually, and born to do art. So I love that you embrace that. What are some of do you have a favorite, any favorite stories of these women that you take outside to go into nature and do some of these exercises with, meditation, writing, whatever? I'm sure it must be just miraculous to watch people's faces when they go, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I'm doing this."
Yeah. One thing that has come up is how they're able to just relax and breathe a little bit more, and breathe a little bit more deeply and just feel that security. And, you know, and when they're looking at different things or using their senses, that they, you know, like it's emotional. It's emotional because we're giving ourselves permission, dedicated time permission, to just be present. To just be present. And it goes back to what you're saying about that little girl. It's like, oh, you forgot to just go outside and play? Yeah. Yeah, we did. We have to schedule it now and make plans in advance, you know, and overcomplicate things and then not follow through. I mean, this connection stuff is very similar, you know, across the board in terms of what we're dealing with. So it can be extremely, extremely emotional.
Wow, I never even thought of that. So going back to your journal writing, you're doing, I mean, I love the triggers. I love that you do it in the morning. Do you find yourself, I mean, I'm just guessing, do you find yourself, when I say write from your heart, it's really about letting go. It's really about letting what comes in any form of writing. Do you feel that you get stuck in your head, or do you feel that go there. Do you feel you ever get stuck in your head, and how do you release to just
yeah, of course. Well, and one of the things that I coach around is getting out of your head and into your body. and just going outside and just get into your body. Stop thinking so much about it. And it's very similar in terms of getting out of your head and getting into your heart. And so when I look at old journals of mine, it's, you know, I always write the date, and, you know, I used to give some background information and then get into the story. But by the time I actually got into the story, like 7 other things already happened in my mind, if you know what I'm talking about. And it's funny to admit this, but I remembered seeing an episode either on Oprah or that she was a guest, and it was about journal writing.
Oh, wow. Tell us about it.
Yeah. And she showed her journal, and it was scribbles all over the place. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. But there's no introduction, there's no ending, there's no, you know, and so that really shifted. Like, it gave me a different way of thinking about how I write. Which is amazing because it's so deeply personal, and it's so, you know, and I don't write, you know, for my journal, especially to share with anyone, you know, but the fact that I could just go in and write whatever and do chicken scratches,
Yeah.
like, it shows my own personal evolution.
Yeah.
Of how I deal with it, and how I'm able to, you know, just like cut through the cut to the chase.
And on this show, cut through the shit.
Cut through the shit, you know, and just, you know, whether it's like the ideas that are coming up, or like I'm feeling bad or whatnot, you know, I can just like throw it on a paper and draw a circle. You know, it's like, heaven forbid, drawing on my lined paper is like sacrilegious, you know, but it's like, who cares? Who cares? Just be in the moment and just let it all flow out. Because when you're writing and you have that stream of consciousness, like at first, you know, for me, it's like, oh, I do want a new rug. I want a new rug because I'm looking at my rug every day. I want a new rug. You know, it's like the superficial stuff. And then, you know, after you get into the habit, after you're in the groove of every morning, you know, or every other morning, or, you know, that you don't even write about the rug. I mean, sometimes I still write about the rug, but you know, like, I can just jump in a little bit more in terms of, okay, what was I dreaming about? And I also have a dream journal that I keep by my bed. And so there's an area for me to write, you know, what I saw, how I felt. I can draw things as well, which, you know, I mean, those are really hilarious drawings. But, you know, having that immediacy of being able to just trust myself, and not even trust myself, just like let it come out. And that's when the genius happens.
Yes.
That's when it's like, oh, I know about, you know, it's like the answers just come up.
Yes.
And it's amazing. And, you know, I also find that when I'm in meditation. So all of these ways of getting out of ourselves, and, you know, whether it's sitting on your pillow or just, it's like the theme is just get out of your head, because you can't figure everything out in there.
No. I love that you bring up meditation. I often work with my clients on the you know, they're sort of married, writing and meditation. Like, you know, it's uncomfortable to sit still for whatever, 15 minutes, an hour, half hour, whatever it is. And it's uncomfortable to sit still and write sometimes, you know. But if you trust the process, either one of them, they bring you to another place that's different, that's new, that feels good, you know. Rarely, I mean, it happens. I've had some of my clients say, you know, I meditated and it was terrible. Like, well, that's not actually meditation then, because you're judging yourself. Let's talk about letting go and just letting what happened happen. And the same with journal writing is what I hear. And I love that you brought up that you were, you know, sort of strict with yourself at first, that you learned, oh my God, I can just like draw circles on a lined piece of paper and this and that. And I think that it's fascinating that we put ourselves in these weird little boxes as a writer. Well, am I allowed to do that? Yes. You know, whatever you want, it goes. It's, first of all, especially in a journal. And it's really healing. You can experiment in a journal. You can do so many things. But then in writing, like writing a poem, writing, you know, anything, literally anything goes. Like, people forget, like, that's what we want to explore. We want to explore what's different, what can come out of us. And I love that you've really been dedicated to your journal writing. Do you ever go back and read your journals?
I do. I do. And I've actually been thinking about what I should do with my old journals, because I have my old journals and then I have my old letters from when I used to have pen pals. From summer camp. And, you know, a couple of things about it's, I always am taken exactly to that place and that time. It is so easy for me to read a paragraph and be like, I remember feeling that.
Wow.
I remember feeling that. I remember what happened. I remember how I felt. I remember, yeah. So that is really powerful. But in more recent years, what I've been doing is going through, because when I restarted my morning practice, I would actually write for like an hour or an hour, sometimes an hour and a half.
Cool.
Where I told myself, okay, you're going to fill up these pages and you're just going to write, you know, and like, yeah, it's a time commitment. It's a time commitment, but I would wake up earlier and I would just, you know, get like, that was the training, though, that was lifting those heavy weights.
Yeah.
And so more recently, like I've gone back to look at old journals, like within the last couple of years, and like I'll highlight things that I want to do, you know, or that come up that I didn't actually like put an action item around it. And I'm able to see, is there a theme? You know, and I'm able to see, okay, what did I act on and what did I not act on? And for the things that I didn't act on, like, why?
Definitely. I love this. I love it. You know, it's funny. I just recently have been studying journal writing for this interview series. And I had no idea the power of asking, of the inquiry, of, you know, writing what's going on, writing how you feel, and then inquiring. I wonder why I feel that way. I wonder what else is under there. And the answers that we get are so powerful. Writing is way more powerful than people think. And it's way more healing. And they just discovered good for your health. I mean, they discovered that in like the 90s, really in like the 20s. But then they put it into play in like the 90s. And now it's expressive writing is going nuts on just journaling, and it reduces, like I said, anxiety, trauma, PTSD. It makes you more creative, gives you a better look on life. And then the best, which I think, is you have the answers. You have the answers. There's an actual answer that you already possess. Is that not correct? Do you feel
Absolutely.
that way?
I mean, you just have to be courageous.
Yeah.
And when you're writing and you ask the question, you know, the first thing that comes to mind, actually write it down. Don't think about it.
I love it. I love it.
Now, you can think about it later.
You're going to read a poem, a favorite poem of yours. But before you do you write poetry? I forgot to ask.
You know, back to the yin and the yang, I used to write poetry, and I spent a summer at Oxford University, and I took a class on creative writing where we wrote poetry, and then we went, you know, to Shakespeare's resting place, and, you know, got to read our sonnets. Okay. And my other class was politics, philosophy, and economics. So it's like...
I bet you the poetry helped you cope, though. Gave you some fun to do.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so you're going to read, and I love this poem. I asked her if she'd pick a poem about nature, one of her favorite ones, because nature is so healing. So all you writers out there that are stuck inside, put on those rain vests or whatever you got and go for a hike, go for a walk, get outside, because I know, like, it works for me anyway. Whenever I'm feeling stuck or just need to have new ideas, it doesn't come from sitting and sometimes writing the whole time. You got to get outside no matter what. So tell us the name of the poem, and I'm so excited. Exciting.
So this is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. And I'll give a shout out to my high school English teacher, Mr. Schmickens, for introducing me to this poem that I sort of know by heart, but...
Love it. Oh, I can't wait.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stop here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. And
Ah,
miles to go before I sleep.
I love that poem. Oh my gosh. It's really just, it never gets old, ever gets old. So you have a great free gift too.
I do. So my free gift is a meditation. So it takes us into those lovely deep woods, and we do a little bit of forest bathing. And so for anyone who's not familiar with
Say
forest,
forest bathing. I love this. Tell us more about
so we during the meditation in nature, preferably somewhere outdoors, um, we review all of the different senses, and I give you time to write about what comes up. So whether it's that ant that comes up and comes crawling on your shoe, or what. So you have that time to be in stillness, be in silence, meditate, be in nature, and write.
Oh, what a great, it's like a little mini vacation.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this. And you also have retreats. I forgot to mention earlier. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your retreats before we go.
Yes. So we get outdoors on my retreats. I love having retreats because it's a really nice way for women to get together and to learn new skills, and whether it's how to start that fire or how to tie knots. But also there is, I do retreats that focus on inner peace.
Oh, nice.
Safe in our natural environments.
Oh, that's great. Well, keep doing what you're doing because the world needs you. Like, seriously, don't stop. And everybody get outside, grab your notebook, and write outside. It's such a great thing to do. All right, Annette. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thanks for the inspiration for the animals, Annette. And we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks for having me. It's been
Okay.
so much fun.
Fun. Okay, bye.